I'm Gary Whitta. I'm the screenwriter of The Book of Eli, and also a new movie called After Earth starring Will and Jaden Smith that's coming out next year. And also we just announced a new comic book called Oliver, which is going to be released next year also. So a busy day for me.
So what is Comic-Con like for you in general? What do you like about this show?
I've always loved it just as a fan. I've been coming here for many, many years. It's been interesting to see it grow and kind of become almost kind of co-opted by Hollywood in a way. I mean, it's become this big kind of very showbiz type event. But it's great to see, you know, the worlds of video gaming and comic books and movies and television all come together, and I feel like the geeks really have inherited the earth here.
So now you have a background when it comes to video games. Can you talk a little bit about that, your earlier days?
Yeah, so my first career was in video games. I was the editor-in-chief of PC Gamer for many years, and then I got into screenwriting, but I've not really been able to escape my video game past, because obviously there has been this big convergence where video games and TV and comics and films have all really become, you know, they're all the same storytelling medium, really. And so I'm still working in video games right now. I'm working on the new Walking Dead video game series, which is a lot of fun. And I just like telling stories. I don't care what medium it happens to be in. Like I said, I've got a movie coming out, a comic book, a video game. It's just all storytelling to me. I love it.
Now, do you think about transmedia when you're developing things these days? Like, do you think about it, this would make a good video game if we did this?
Yeah, sometimes when you have an idea, it kind of the first thing that I do when I'm thinking of an idea is like, what's the best medium for this story to be told? And sometimes an idea is so big that you feel like it could be told in all different mediums, and After Earth is actually a great example of that. So it started as a movie, but at the panel today we were talking about how that universe has really expanded beyond just being a movie, where it's going to be a comic book. They gave away free editions of a comic book at the panel today. There are going to be novelizations, there will be video games, there may be a TV iteration at some point. It's really such a big, expansive idea that it's too big for just one movie. We hope that it will be multiple, not just multiple movies, but multiple iterations in different mediums over the next several years.
What about Book of Eli? Would that translate well to the gaming world?
I would love to do a game. I would love to do a comic book. The problem with it is that I no longer own it. Once you sell a movie script, you sell it lock, stock and barrel to the movie studio, and it really becomes their decision. I've never told anyone this, but I actually have been pestering the guys that now own the Book of Eli property for the last couple of years, saying I would love to do a comic book, let me do a comic book, but it's been hard to convince them that it's worth doing. But maybe one of these days I'll be able to get them to see it my way.
Well, plus I had heard that they were going to continue that movie franchise as well at some point.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it was a modest hit. It wasn't a mega blockbuster movie, but, you know, it made its money back, and it was a fairly, you know, successful movie that a lot of people liked. And, you know, anytime you're dealing with kind of a science fiction type universe like that, you feel like there's a possibility that it could be a comic book or a video game or something else. So if the opportunity ever arises, I would be all over that. It's just like it's down to the people that own Eli now, because it's not me anymore, to decide that that's something they would want to pursue.
Can you talk a little about your new comic book, Oliver?
Yeah, it's great. So it's a co-creation between myself and a very talented artist by the name of Derek Robertson, who comic book people will know as the co-creator of Transmetropolitan with Warren Ellis and The Boys with Garth Ennis. I mean, he's drawn Wolverine and the X-Men and the Punisher, and he's worked for Marvel and DC. He's a very, very well-known name in comics. He's right now he's doing a book called Happy with Grant Morrison for Image Comics. And then as soon as he's done with that, he's going to join up with me, also at Image Comics, to do this new book, Oliver, which is it's going to sound kind of crazy, but it's a steampunk, post-apocalyptic retelling of Oliver Twist, set in a post-apocalyptic England. And we've given Oliver superpowers, we've done all kinds of crazy stuff. It's a very, very different, I'm sure Charles Dickens is rolling in his grave right now, just hearing me even talk about it, but we think it's a really fun way to kind of revisit a classic story.
That steampunk sounds like it could also make a good video game in some way.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, it's funny, we see so many steampunk people now walking around Comic-Con. You see them with the kind of the brass goggles and these amazing costumes, and it's a great community, it's a great scene, they're very passionate about that world, but there isn't really a lot of fiction out there for them. And it was actually Derek's idea to bring the kind of the steampunk sensibility to it. Oliver was always a post-apocalyptic world, but it was his idea to kind of tap into that steampunk scene and give those guys, who I think are a little bit disenfranchised. There's never been like a really great steampunk movie or a great steampunk TV show or comic book, and we hope that Oliver might fill that gap.